Well, good morning to everyone at home. It is a Saturday morning, and we're back for another rendition of She Unleashed. She Unleashed is a program that is targeted to corporate women. It is targeted to the youth that are looking to be one day leaders in a corporate environment or in their own enterprises. We're so excited because, it's a girly show. We're talking to the ladies. We're giving you the pearls of wisdom. We're giving you all the tricks of the trades on how to make sure you take care of yourself, but also how do you maneuver your space in a corporate environment with all the political landmines that are there. So today I'm very excited because we are dealing with real matters. We're dealing with mental matters. And we have one of the most amazing speakers in the space. She is working with the UN, focused on youth, on building mental strategies for deploying into the immediate communities. She also works with corporates where she deals with women leaders and talks to them about health, their mental health, their health matters. And she also runs an entity called Mental Matters. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to introduce you today to Lerato Solomon. Hi, Lerato.
Hello, Fumza. How are you doing?
I am so excited about today's rendition because I've seen you in action. I've seen you speak, and I've seen you passionate about, matters of mental health. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I am so excited. This is something I'm very passionate about, something so close to my heart. So I can't wait to just pour my heart out into this conversation. So thank you so much once again.
Absolutely amazing. So tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing with the UN and just also the work that you get up to, because I still understand that you are still in your 9 to 5 role, but you're also running mental awareness on the side. How do you manage all of these roles?
Sure, it's definitely not easy, but I think that I've got a really good support system. I think that even my 9 to 5, the people in that space allowed me to pursue my passions. So that is something really amazing. And yeah, mental matters or mental health has always been something that is so close to my heart because it's something that I relate with on a personal level. And I think I'm very blessed to actually be open to opportunities where other people allow me to actually live out this passion, especially with my role where I'm working with the UN as a local pathway fellow, where we're working with other global people, especially youth, where we strategize on policies on how to improve our mental health systems in our countries. So that is such a great opportunity because this is something that's not just going to benefit, very few people, but it's going to benefit everyone globally. So mental health is something that is so important. We live mental health. We all have mental health. It's something that we all have and it affects everyone. And that's why I'm so excited about this. And also impacting our corporates, that is something that's very important because we have mental health, we all have mental health. It means that it also affects us in our working spaces, which is why I decided to actually expand into that space of supporting corporates when it comes to the wellness of their employees, especially women.
It has never been this important to deal with mental health. We are literally stuck in a pandemic, and whatever we thought we know about it and whatever resilience we thought we had, it had to be thrown out of the window. What are you seeing on the ground as, developing from women who are corporate leaders? What are you finding as what the general issues that are coming up on mental health?
Sure. I think the biggest one has been, shifting from we are all expected to somehow act as if everything is normal. You know, it's not normal, and we all know that, but we are forced into a space where everything is normal. You know, we have to just resume working. We have to be accustomed to now working from home, which is something that we are not used to, you know. Also, the shift from some people having to have a normal 9 to 5 to now trying to have a side hustle, as they call it, because a lot of people have been laid off from work. You know, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult shift. And I've just seen from even a personal level, you know, from family members who have tried to juggle being a mother and homeschooling. It's crazy. It is also crazy. And I think that this is the time where we all need to support each other, especially as women. And my call is to just be able to provide that support, or at least provide the tools on how we can at least, you know, try and juggle around this whole trauma, because I always explain COVID-19 as trauma. We have all gone through trauma. You know, it's something that we didn't expect, and it was just a shocker. And I think even now myself, I'm sitting here and I'm like, did this really just happen? Is this really happening? Like, you know, we are all expected to just move on with life like nothing happened, but it's still quite hectic and relevant, and it's affecting our everyday lives. Every day you hear of a story of somebody passing, you hear of somebody being laid off work. You know, we see kids struggling when it comes to adapting to online learning. So all sorts of things. Every day is just a shocker. Yeah.
So, what do you think can help us cope in this process, Lerato? What are the coping mechanisms that women are employing to deal with the situation? Because you're rightfully saying you are expected to come onto the webinar looking okay and still handling the directing of, the operations in the office. Meanwhile, you are dealing with some of the members of the family passing on. You're dealing with the kids, all of those things. What can we do to cope better with the situation?
Yeah. I think the most important thing that I have learned is asking for help. You know, as women, we are known to be these superheroes. We are super moms, we are super directors, we are super CEOs. And there's a little bit of pride that comes with all those, you know, titles that we have, and it feels good to have them. And look, I have to give it up to women. We are incredible beings, but one thing that we struggle with is asking for help. So many of us think that when we ask for help, we sort of see it as a way of, I'm actually not coping. And that sort of gives you that feeling that you are failing as a person or as a human being. And that is not the case. So I'm a very, very big advocate of asking for help, because that really there is strength in asking for help. You know, we all have a breaking point in life. And that's something I've learned, that we are human and there is absolutely nothing wrong. If you feel that you are struggling dealing with the kids and the homeschooling and all of that, you know, you can speak to a partner, try and, you know, split the responsibilities between the two of you, or ask a family member to come in and help. You know, you can ask your colleagues to step in if you can't do something. So little things like that can actually help. And another thing is therapy. Therapy is so important. So important. You know, as I think, especially as the African community, there has always been so much stigma surrounding therapy. It's almost as if you go to therapy, you are a broken person, but that is not the case. We all need a third perspective, you know, or that second perspective in our life. You know, somebody who's going to come in and advise to do things differently, somebody who's going to be a comfort, you know, somebody who's going to be a confidant, because there are some things, to be honest, you can't tell to your mother or even your partner, you know, and you just feel that you need to just go outside of the relationship to get that extra help or perspective. So therapy is very important. It's something that I live on and something that has helped me very much.
I think
yeah.
Sorry, go for it.
No, it's fine. You can go ahead.
I think what you're mentioning is particularly important because it is a particularly different time, because never have we all collectively gone through pressure and stress at the same time. So it almost feels like, as much as we're saying ask for help, it almost feels like you don't know what you're asking the other person to do, because they equally met with the similar challenges, the kids being in the house, and it almost feels like you are burdening the other person, when you're asking for them to stretch themselves further. So I like the discussion around, okay, if you are beyond just the immediate kind of resources that you have for helping, maybe to stretch out and reach out for therapy as well. What I wanted to ask as well is, we are such a social, community. How has social media played a role in adding to our stresses? Because we are such a strange kind of society. And I think we spoke about this before getting onto the call, that you get to see Pumza all made up and she comes into the videos all bubbly, and people do not realize the work that happens behind the scenes for us to get to the stage. How has social media played a factor in putting pressure on people to make them seem that they are okay?
Yeah, sure. This is, the topic of social media on its own is just a topic for another day. Mm-hmm. I've written a blog on the impact of social media on our mental health. And I've been so open about it. In fact, it was just last year when I learned to take social media breaks, because it can get a lot. You're just seeing everyone's lives out there, and you're like, how are people so perfect when I am just drowning and going through so much? And I think with social media, the thing is, everybody displays the good stuff, and nobody is going to be open about the bad stuff that is happening. Mm-hmm. So what we all seeing is what I want you to see. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to post about how I just had a mental breakdown yesterday and it was so hard for me to wake up, kind of thing. So I think we need to take in mind that whatever we are seeing is what other people want us to see. Mm-hmm. And it's good to take a social media break. Trust me, it will be good for you, even if it means you just switch off for a weekend, mm-hmm. or whether it's a day from social media, and just focus on you and just being you. The thing with social media is that it's hard in our age to actually do take those breaks. So you have to be intentional about it, because most of us do our businesses on social media. We run, our lives are run by social media. Our personal branding is actually done on social media. So it's very, very hard when a person speaks of a break. But I think that you just, small little steps. Start with, what, today I'm just going to go off social media and I'm just going to focus on, I don't know, I'm just going to meditate today, or I'm going to be baking, or I'm going to be reading, whatever it is, And I think for me, what has helped is actually schedule my time for social media breaks, mm-hmm. because it can be really hard to get off your phone, mm-hmm. Sometimes you're sitting with people in a restaurant and you're constantly just picking up your phone to look if there's any notification. So it has become sort of a habit. So to break a habit, you need to build a new habit. So things like starting to schedule some time to just take a social media break. So you can even say that every 2 months, one weekend, I will just, take a break and not be on social media and just focus on me and bring myself back, because we can get so consumed by what is happening in the world that we forget about ourselves, to a point where you're not even aware of your own feelings or your space for that period. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, I think you've started actually referencing them, the self-care techniques that women can apply for just, giving themselves time, taking care of their mental health? What are those? Because you see, people are so used to be on, action orientated. But when it comes to the time that you have time, we fail to know what are the self-care techniques that we can apply.
Yeah. So I always say that self-care looks different for everyone, but something that I have been very intentional about is scheduling time. So I write a lot. I believe in, if you have a vision, you have to write it down and then you have to show up. And that is how things can be done. So I have gotten used to literally sitting down, looking at my calendar and saying, look, Lerato, next weekend, it's just your time. It's your time. If it means you're going to be reading, read. If you're just going to be watching Netflix, then just watch Netflix. So I think we just have to be intentional and schedule that time for yourself, because we can schedule, as women, we are such amazing beings that we even forget about ourselves. And I think it's such a bad habit. You can schedule time for your friends, you schedule time for your kids, you schedule time for, being with colleagues, all sorts of things. You have to visit mom, you have to cook for whoever. And then what happens to Pumza in the meantime when she's doing all these things for everyone? You have to prioritize yourself. You can't pour out of an empty cup. So whatever, I can't remember, Oprah is having a conversation with somebody and she said that whatever, it's an overflowing cup. Whatever that's in the cup is for me. And whatever that's overflowing is for everybody else. So let's start pouring into our own cups, and then we can just give off the rest to everybody else. And again, the world needs you when you are this healthy, refreshed, rejuvenated Pumza. When you are at your best, then the world gets that best of you. So yeah.
Wonderful. Lerato, you have a personal story that you always relate on how you became aware of mental health in your personal journey. Can you take us through it? What happened? What would raise the awareness for you about mental health matters?
Yeah. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety at an early age in my teens, and it was left untreated for over a decade.
Sure.
And it just kept on escalating, and it got to a point where I was then diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder because my depression got untreated for such a long time. And it was when I had attempted four suicide. I had 4 suicide attempts, and I realized when I got admitted at hospital during the 4th suicidal attempt that something needs to change. And I kind of gave up. I know it may sound kind of insensitive, but I gave up on wanting to try and take away my life, because I was like, it's the 4th time. Clearly, God really wants me to stay. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to get myself out of this. And I decided that I'm going to face this on. I am grown enough now to get, help. Because I think then another reason why I couldn't get the help was the stigma that surrounded mental health. For our parents and our great grandparents, when you talk of depression, it's something that's very taboo. Especially in the African community, there's no such thing as depression. You're a child? Why are you stressed? What stresses are you having in life? It was that thing. So when I was grown enough and I decided that I have to take charge of my life, I am no longer that teenager, and I decided that I would get the help that I needed. And I started consulting with psychiatrists and psychologists, and I was put on medication. And it was then when I realized that I'm not the only person who has gone through this journey. There are so many Leratos out there who have gone through the same thing. And it really just started by me writing a blog. So I started my blog and I used to post on my personal experiences and I used to share them on Instagram. And I found a lot of people just opening up and saying, we can relate to your story. Oh my gosh, we have never seen somebody who's so open about, you know, the journey that they have gone through. And that inspired me to actually start my business. That inspired me to just become a mental health advocate. You know, I wanted to change the policies in our country when it comes to mental health, because I realized that not everyone has access to quality mental health, especially when it comes to our government systems. And that is the journey that I went through, and that is what inspired me to start all these movements when it comes to mental health. So I think the biggest thing for me, it was that I'm not the only person going through this. Everybody has mental health, and it means at some stage in their life, they're gonna have to come on head straight and face whatever that it is that they are going through. And they don't need to go through it alone, or at least they should know that somebody else has gone through it.
Are you finding in your interactions with your clients that we are becoming better in diagnosing mental health issues?
In fact, I would love to say yes, but sadly, no.
Sure.
We are still so far behind compared to other parts of the world, especially in Africa, when it comes to recognizing that mental health is a real thing. You know, there was a client that I was talking to about whether, you know, they would consider something like a mental health day. If a worker came and asked for a mental health day off because they are just not okay, and they were like, they were very puzzled. Like, why would you ask for such a thing? You know? So we are still far behind, and it's something that we are working towards. I must say that there is an improvement from 10 years ago, definitely a huge improvement, because everybody is now coming up. I'm seeing a lot of youth, in fact, you know, starting to speak about mental health. I see a lot of people advocating for mental health. So it's not as bad as it seems, but I don't think we are where we should be. So that is why I will never ever stop preaching about mental health. I will never stop teaching and sharing my experiences, because it is something that affects us every day. And we see it with the increased suicidal rates, you know, and the increased diagnosis of depression, and especially amongst women, which is something that is very important. And I will emphasize that even in corporate, mental health is not something that just happens in your home, but it can also happen in the workspace. You know, if you are not okay at home, it will reflect at work. If you're not okay at work, it will reflect in your personal life. So these things are linked, and there is no way of separating the two.
As leaders in the corporate environment, how do we best support, how to firstly identify where there are problems of mental health? Because it's exactly as you say, that we're coming from a culture where talking about such issues is still taboo. And you almost get concerned about, you know, crossing boundaries and trying to help or assist people. How do we best show up for the subordinates and helping them when they're going through their own mental health crisis?
Yeah, I think the first thing is the first step to at least you know, combating this whole issue is recognizing that mental health is real, and educating your employees about mental health, whether it be getting an external source to come in and educate them. regularly finding resources where they can actually learn from. So handing out pamphlets about mental health, getting somebody every, 2 months or 6 months coming in to check on the staff, and also implementing wellness programs in the business is actually a very good, it's a very, okay, sorry, I broke there. It's a very good thing to actually implement in the business. And another, I think that the fact that when the employer starts to take action, then the employees can start to be more receptive, and they have that trust relationship now that, okay, they recognize that this is a real thing, which means I can go up front and speak about my feelings. But if the employer is, quiet about it, then it becomes a thing of, should I, how do I even start to approach? So that when you start to educate, at least you are opening up, a room for conversations about it. And I think that as employers, we should allow our staff to, things like, if a person is not feeling okay today, one day out of 365 days is really not going to hurt your business, as compared to having to be stuck with a person who's unproductive for the whole year, or them in fact just taking a day off to go and see a doctor, or to just go and get rest or whatever. It's very important. It's really the little things that make a very huge impact in a person's life.
You would actually think that this is the time that most corporates are hunting for the Leratos to help support their staff. Because the reality of the fact is we are all fatigued. We're at the point where this has been going on for quite a lot. And it also seems like we're not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And you would think that there's a lot more support, coming up from the corporates. Are you kept busy at the moment? Is your phone not stopping ringing because corporates are calling you? Because this is what is supposed to be happening at this point in time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I always say that, you know what, I think I was born for such a time as this, because there has never been a better time to actually start looking after ourselves, and also just start looking after the wellness of our employees. And you're right, I am being kept busy. I'm getting a lot of phone calls. I am being requested to do seminars and webinars around the issues of mental health. So for me, that really gives me hope, because it shows that we are recognizing that we are all going through something that is very traumatic to us. And when employees are calling, it shows that they care about the well-being of their staff. So which is something that makes me very, very happy. And yeah, I'm really hoping to help a lot more other people. Yeah, I'm always available and ready to just serve other people and other businesses.
I know this one will be probably a bit of a difficult question to ask, but since we're not educated in mental health, Pumza could be having a normal day at work, but not recognizing that she's at a point where she's reaching her limit. What are those triggers that we need to watch out for? Maybe specific to this time, that are, indicators of something that is happening on a general basis on the wider society level. What should Pumza be watching out for, especially when we're talking about fatigue? What is that ultimate level? Because we just keep on going. We don't realize that you're actually reaching maximum that you can actually reach.
Yeah. The funny thing is, we hardly see these things up until we get to a breaking point. And that is why I previously spoke about therapy, that you always need an outside perspective, because you may think that you're doing well, but when you're sitting with somebody else, they are able to see something that you don't see in yourself. So having somebody to keep check on you is very important. it's hard to say that you will see these things in yourself, because I've personally just gone through, just worked and worked and worked up until I was just like, I can't do this anymore and I'm breaking down. So it's really normal for us to just not recognize these things in us. So that is why I will repeat again that if you can, even if it's not a therapist, if you can just get an accountability partner, or even a confidence, that's somebody that you can check in with on a weekly or on a monthly basis, where you're able to sit down for coffee and you'd be like, yo, my friend, but I've been working and working and working, and I'm just like, you're just in it. And that person would be like, but no, I don't think you should be doing that to yourself. When was the last time you actually took a break? Then you start taking a backseat, like, okay, hold on, Pumza. Like, yeah, I haven't done anything for myself. I haven't taken a break. When last did I get a good sleep, kind of a thing, So that person helps you keep in check with yourself. And sadly, the symptoms that you can see this is when you have now reached the boiling point and you are just breaking down. Fatigue is a real thing. You spoke of fatigue so much, and I've experienced it so many times. You get to a point where you are just dysfunctional in terms of you don't know if you're going left or right. You are either not sleeping at all, or you find yourself wanting to sleep all the time now. Your eating habits or your eating patterns are also not great. It's either you're eating too much or you're not eating at all. And most of us are now living on coffee. You wake up with coffee, where when you're feeling exhausted and you want to get more coffee. And I have a friend who's like, but why? It just shows when your body is asking you for more coffee, it's just saying, relax, take a break. You don't want to take more coffee because your body is actually feeling tired. So we are this generation that's so now accustomed to taking our Red Bulls and our coffees. And the moment you have an urge to do that, I think that is your body telling you that I need rest. I need rest. I think rest is really underrated and productivity is overrated in our generation. We all want to be busy. We want to work. We want to be everywhere and be making an impact all over. But you never hear of people promoting rest. And I think it's quite important, to take that break and to just rest and do nothing. And for some people, rest really means that they could just be doing their hobby or just taking a walk. That is also fine. But time for yourself is important. Scheduling time for yourself is quite important. You don't want to get to a point where you are breaking down, where you now need to be rushed to a hospital, because there are people who get admitted for fatigue because it's that bad. It is that bad. So yeah.
Lerato, you mentioned something about finding the outlet, finding your friends to have an outlet and to talk about what is happening in your life. The whole situation we are in has almost taken out that social aspects of our lives. The drinks where you were meeting the girls and could at least, offload what was happening. What are the best techniques we can have in this time of still offloading with someone? Because I get the therapy part. Yes, it's something that is important, but that seemed to help as well. Just to have women talking about the similar issues you're going through at corporate. What do we do now that we are stuck at home?
Yeah. I think I need to go out more. I miss going out. I miss hooking up with the girls. I miss dressing up and looking cute. I'm tired of sitting at home and just being in my sweatpants all day. So I need to get out. I think we just all can't wait for that day where we just, but I think for now, obviously for our safety as well, we just have to use what we have, and that is technology. Thankfully, that even at a time like this, we are still able to connect to our loved ones. And that is, thanks to technology. Things like regular video calls, regular Zoom meetings, so we can set up like a cocktail day or a cocktail Friday kind of thing. So where we set it up over a Zoom meeting. I know it's not the same. You know, you want to give somebody a hug. You know, you want to be able to touch somebody because we are physical beings. But for now, we just have to things like setting up a cooking session over a Zoom meeting, or guys, let's just have a glass of wine and chat, you know. So things like video calls and regular calls, you know, we have WhatsApp video calling. So that is the closest thing that we have in terms of socializing with our friends and our families. So yeah, apart from that, I really can't think of anything else because that is the closest thing that I have done when it comes to connecting socially with your friends.
Lerato, this is a question I always ask all women who have something to share. When is that book coming out of you?
Oh my goodness. I've been dreaming of this book forever, but I think when I have something to say, then the book will definitely come out. Definitely.
Absolutely. So tell me, how do we find you? And also, maybe the first question should be, what is in your plans for the next coming 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months?
Yeah. The plan is to mobilize the business even more, to make an impact in our communities. So there's a lot of stuff that's in the pipeline. There's a whole lot of webinars that have been planned from the month of March. So that is going to be great. I'm going to be releasing the dates on my social media. So yeah, I'm just going to be working with more businesses. Yeah, I think I'm very excited, as much as it is really crazy times that we are living in, but I have hope. I have hope. I'm filled with so much hope. I am a young person, and I know that I've been, you know, I've been gifted with so much. And I think for me, it's just unleashing those things and just serving the nation and serving the communities to be the best that we can be. And yeah, I'm just really, really excited for what's coming.
Absolutely. And you couldn't have been at a better place, because this is where we want to see everyone being unleashed to their full potential. Now, tell me, how do we find you? I know you are on LinkedIn, on Facebook. What are your handles on the various social media?
Lerato Solomon.
Lerato Solomon. Okay.
Yes.
So that's where we can get you and all your work that you're doing and all your webinars and talks.
Yes, absolutely. That's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, it's been an amazing 30 to 45 minutes, and you can see that the topic is quite broad. There are various elements, and I hope that we've touched at least on the important ones, that we can help someone who's out there and they're almost feeling that they're reaching the maximum of their fatigue, to remember and to be, at least, something alerts them that it's going towards the danger zone. Thank you very much for this talk, Lerato, and it's always a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I had so much fun. I could literally sit here the entire day because mental health is such a broad topic. You know, there's so much to unpack, but I'm really grateful for the minutes that we've had. It felt like 10 minutes. I could go on forever, but I really had fun. And I hope that, you know, there's something that the listeners can take away from this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.